The Curse of Brahma Pishach. The Night of Shivratri, a horrifying story. Shivratri Kirat, a night when the god of gods, Mahadev, is worshipped. But there is another truth of this night, a mysterious village where something happens on Shivratri which no one knows. The name of this village was Tryambakpur, where people did not come out of their houses on Shivratri. This year, a young journalist, Aditya, and his team were determined to uncover this mystery, but they did not know that the darkness they were about to step into, from which there would be no return. Aditya, his friend Ridhima, cameraman, and Kunal, sound engineer, reached this scary village. The villagers explained to them that no one comes out here on the night of Shivratri, but Aditya thought it was just superstition. He met the oldest person in the village, Pandit Someshwar. The Pandit said, 150 years ago, a terrible incident happened in this village. A tantric did something in the name of worshipping Lord Shiva that freed a Brahma Pishach. Since then, every Shivratri night, that creature wakes up and kills anyone who comes in his way. Aditya and his team believed the story to be a rumor and decided to spend the night in the temple. But as the night deepened, strange events started happening. Towards midnight, the temple bells started ringing on their own. Kunal turned on the camera and saw a shadowy figure standing at the entrance of the temple. His body was tall, thin, and his eyes were burning like fire. Suddenly, the figure disappeared and the temple door closed. Now the three friends were trapped inside. Inside the temple, blood started dripping from the idols carved on the walls. Just then, Ridhima saw a secret door. Upon entering, they found an old book that had written about Brahma Pishach. It said that the only way to stop this demon is Mahashivratri mantra. At 3 a.m., the temple suddenly went dark. Just then, terrifying screams echoed through the temple. Brahma Pishach appeared in front of them, red burning eyes, smoke coming out of his head and a burning smell coming from his body. Aditya and his team started trembling with fear. Kunal tried to run away, but as soon as he opened the temple door, an invisible force grabbed him and blew him into the air. His screams echoed throughout the temple. The next moment, his body broke into pieces in the air. Now only Aditya and Ridhima were left. They knew that if they didn't do something quickly, they would meet the same fate. Ridhima remembered that it was written in the book that if Mahashivratri mantra is chanted, then the power of Brahma Pishach gets weakened. Ridhima gathered courage and started reciting the mantra. Om Tryambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshya Mamritat. As the sound of the mantra started resonating, Brahma Pishach's screams became louder. His skin started burning, and he started writhing in pain. Aditya also started chanting the mantra. In no time, a bright light spread inside the temple. Brahma Pishach screamed and suddenly burned to ashes. The door opened, and the first rays of the sun came inside the temple. Both of them rushed out. The 150-year-old curse of Tryambakpur was over. Aditya and Ridhima somehow managed to escape this terrible night, but they promised the village elders that they would not reveal the secret to anyone. This Shivratri became the scariest night of their lives forever, and Tryambakpur still remains a mystery. Aditya and Ridhima escaped, but was the Brahma Pishach really destroyed? A few days after Shivratri, Aditya was sitting at his home, but something strange was happening to him. He started having strange dreams at night. The same temple, the sound of the bells, and the same shadow with burning eyes. One night while he was asleep, the window of his room suddenly opened by itself. Cold air came in, and a whisper echoed in his ears. The curse is not over. You stopped me, but you didn't erase me. Aditya's whole body was drenched in sweat. He mustered up the courage to open his eyes, and what he saw shook him to his very soul. In the corner of his bedroom, there stood that same Brahma Pishach. Aditya screamed loudly, but the next moment, everything disappeared. Was it a dream or something else? Terrified with fear, Aditya called Ridhima. We have to go back to Tryambakpur. Something is wrong. Ridhima was also worried because for the past few days, her camera footage was changing on its own. The temple video was showing some strange faces, faces that shouldn't be there. The two decided to go to Tryambakpur once again and find out the truth. But this time they were not alone, because darkness had come with them. Aditya and Ridhima once again set out towards Tryambakpur. Last time they had somehow escaped, but this time everything was going to be even more dangerous. As their car approached the village, the atmosphere seemed more terrifying than before. Thick fog all around, no one on the road, and a mysterious tune coming from the direction of the temple, as if some unknown power had awakened. As soon as they entered the village, they saw that people were scared. The atmosphere of the village seemed strange, and the scariest thing was that the villagers were no longer recognizing them. Who are we? We have come here before. Don't you remember we killed Brahma Pishach? But the villagers just kept staring at them with strange eyes, as if they had never seen Aditya and Ridhima before. Aditya and Ridhima realized that something very horrifying was going to happen. They headed towards the old temple without wasting any time. Around 1:30 a.m., as they approached the temple, they realized that the temple was still stained with blood. Even though the last time they saw everything from there, it was clear. Ridhima turned on her camera, but the camera turned off automatically. Something doesn't seem right, Aditya, said Ridhima in a trembling voice. Then suddenly, there was a sound of someone walking inside the temple. Tap, tap, tap. Both of them looked at each other and slowly pushed the door of the temple. The door opened automatically, and what they saw inside terrified them. Inside the temple, a figure was sitting, an old man, but his eyes were burning, and black smoke was coming out of his body. You didn't defeat me, you fools. It was the same Brahma Pishach, but this time he seemed even stronger than before. Ridhima tried to run away, but then the temple door closed automatically. Brahma Pishach slowly started getting up. His shadow spread across the temple, and he started moving forward, scratching the ground with his long pointed nails. This time, no one will survive. Aditya and Ridhima were now completely trapped. There was a terrible darkness inside the temple. Brahma Pishach was now more powerful than before. His red burning eyes were piercing the souls of Aditya and Ridhima. Do you think you will survive? His voice was like an echo coming from a deep cave. The shadows on the walls of the temple started moving rapidly. You both are not here. Your bodies are here, but your souls are stuck. When Aditya and Ridhima heard this, they were shocked. Were they stuck in some other time? Ridhima tried to turn on her camera again, but the camera was not working. Aditya gathered courage and turned on the flashlight of his phone and looked at the walls of the temple. But what he saw on the walls shook the ground under his feet. Tryambakpur, Sambat, 1875. What? This is the time 150 years ago? Just then, there was a sound of someone running outside the temple. He's here! Run! Aditya and Ridhima saw that the same villagers were standing outside the temple, but now they were wearing old clothes and their faces were turning white with fear. Brahma Pishach laughed horribly and said, Now do you understand? You did not defeat me, because this is the night of my beginning, Ridhima said in a trembling voice. What do you mean, this Shivratri is from 150 years ago? Aditya understood everything now. We have gone back in time, to the time when the curse was put on Tryambakpur. Now they understood that this was not just a cursed village, but they themselves were about to witness the birth of this curse. Then the doors of the temple opened by themselves, and in came a man, a tantric, whose name was Kal Bhairav. Today is the night of Mahashivratri, and today I will awaken Brahma Pishach. The people of the village started shouting, but no one could stop him. Aditya and Ridhima now felt the real fear. They were trapped in history, and if they did not do anything, Brahma Pishach would be born once again. The secret of the past life was revealed. Aditya and Ridhima were now trapped in the past of Tryambakpur, the night when Brahma Pishach was born. If they failed to stop this curse, this demon will be immortal forever. We have to end it here, Aditya said firmly. Ridhima looked around the temple. The book said that Brahma Pishach could be stopped before it was created, but only if Shiva's Tandav Stotram was recited with full devotion in the temple. The tantric, Kal Bhairav, stood in the middle of the temple. Flames of black smoke rose around him. The villagers were trembling with fear. From today onwards, Tryambakpur will be mine, he roared. He started reciting mantras, and slowly blood started flowing from the idols in the temple. Suddenly, the walls of the temple started vibrating, and a crack opened up on the ground. A terrifying shadow came out from there. It was the same Brahma Pishach, but now he was fully alive. Aditya and Ridhima knew that if they didn't do anything, this demon would be immortal forever. Ridhima played the Mahashivratri mantra recorded on her phone on the loudspeaker, but this time it didn't work. We have to recite the mantra ourselves, Aditya shouted. Ridhima started reciting the Shiva Tandav Stotram loudly. Jatat Vigalajal, Pravahapa Vitastale Galeva Lambaya, Lambitam Bujangtungman Malikam. As the mantra resonated, Brahma Pishach started writhing in pain. His skin started burning and he fell to the ground. Kal Bhairav saw this and shouted angrily, "You can't do this!" He tried to attack Aditya, but just then a bright light came out from the statue of Lord Shiva in the temple. The light fell directly on Kal Bhairav and Brahma Pishach, and both were burnt to ashes with a horrifying scream. The temple suddenly became quiet. The villagers were stunned, but there was no fear on their faces now. As soon as the first rays of the sun fell, everything started to blur in front of Aditya and Ridhima's eyes. And the next moment, they both were standing at the same place from where they had entered Tryambakpur. But now the village looked normal. No fear, no strange feeling. When they reached the village, the people there recognized them. "Who are you both?" a man asked. "We are journalists. We had heard about this place." The villagers looked at them strangely. "But nothing like this happened in Tryambakpur. This village has always been normal." Aditya and Ridhima looked at each other. Was it a dream? Did they really go back in time? Or had they really removed the curse of Tryambakpur? They never knew the answer to these questions. But as they walked back to their car, Ridhima's camera found one last footage. The same temple, and written on the wall there was, Tryambakpur, Samvat 1875. The end, or a new beginning. Do you want a second part of this story, where Aditya and Ridhima have to face a new curse? So write part 2 in the comment. For more such stories, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon.